welcome to iBrand Daybreak. I am Perpetua Fasten Repeater. I'm not alone, I've got my amazing colleague right here.
And I'm Samson Oloide. Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the show. Promises to be exciting as always. And Pep, how's it been?
Very well. You decided to wear black because I'm wearing black. Tell me.
You
You
said?
peeped into...
Anyway?
Oh my goodness.
But it's good to, black is a unique color.
Yeah, you can say
It
that
just
again.
goes with any mood and,
Exactly. But I'm happy, okay?
No, it's great. It's great. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes you need to, follow my footsteps.
Hello. Okay, so give us what should we expect today on the show?
Well, on the show today, definitely you have the news update. We'll bring you up to speed with information emanating from the world, talking about national issues as well as continental issues and on the global scene as well. You would also have a newspaper review where we review major headlines making the dailies today, and you can rest assured there's the topic of discussion where we'll delve into societal issues to talk about what's currently trending. Do not forget there is sports as well, as the African Cup of Nations now has a finalist, and you would want to find out who that finalist is during the sports segment. We'll also bring you the social media buzz segment where we talk about trending issues on social media and get reactions of Nigerians. So there's a whole lot on the show, as you should expect, and we're here to deliver, talking about, you being ready as well, because I'm ready. I'm fired up.
Definitely. I'm fired up for the conversation segment. I'm fired up for social media buzz. I'm fired up for everything this morning. But I'll start with the news update. Now, from the home scene, President Muhammadu Buhari will later today head to the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, to participate in the 35th Ordinary Session of Assembly of the African Union Heads of State and Government. This was disclosed in a statement by a special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina. President Buhari will join other African leaders in finding solutions to political, economic and social challenges facing the continent, guided by the theme, Building Resilience in Nutrition and Food Security on the African Continent, Strengthen Agriculture, Accelerates the Human Capital, Social and Economic Development. The President will be accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama, Minister of Health, Dr. Sage Hanire, Minister of Agriculture, Mohamed Abubakar, and Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk. The National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, and Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, Ambassador Ahmed Rufai Abubakar, will also join the President at the AU meetings.
And still talking national matters right now, Nigeria's 4 major aviation unions on Wednesday vowed to ground activities in the sector from Tuesday, the 8th of February 2022, over the failure of the federal government to release the negotiated conditions of service of aviation agencies since 2013, as well as the non-implementation of the national minimum wage consequential adjustments since 2019. In a notice of industrial action jointly signed by officials of the unions and issued to aviation workers associations, the associations, said flights and related activities will be brought suspended. The unions include the National Union of Air Transport Employees, Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, and the Amalgamated Union of Public Corporations, Civil Service Technical and Recreational Services Employees as well. By this notice, all airlines, ground handling companies, aviation security and logistics, in-flight catering, and other aviation-related businesses, as well as the traveling and general public, are hereby notified that aviation services will be unavailable as from the given time until the issues are fully resolved, end of quote, they declared. The Aviation Workers Union recalled that they had earlier sent ultimatums to the Federal Ministry of Aviation and its 6 agencies about workers' concerns, but nothing was done.
At least 60 people were killed in a militia attack early on Wednesday at a displaced persons camp in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, according to the head of a local humanitarian group and a camp resident. Both sources told the media that the Codeco militia was responsible for the killings at about 200 GMT at the Savo camp near Buli in Uturi province. Ituri Army spokesman Joe Ngongo confirmed the attack by Codeco and gave a provisional toll of about 20 dead. Congolese troops came into contact with the militia Tuesday night, but the assailants changed direction and got past them to reach the camp, he said.
Still on continental matters, 26 people died on Wednesday after lightning struck a high-tension power cable on the outskirts of the Congolese capital, Kinshasa, causing it to snap and fall on houses and a market, the authorities have said. The victims included 24 women and 2 men, and another 2 people were seriously injured, Democratic Republic of Congo's government spokesman Patrick Muyaya said on Twitter. Congo's National Association of Architects said in a statement that the accident, which could have been avoided, was a consequence of a lack of respect of town planning regulations under high-voltage electricity lines.
And moving on to the international scene, U.S. Special Operations Forces successfully carried out a counter-terrorism mission in northwest Syria on Thursday, the Pentagon said, adding there were no U.S. casualties, but gave no further details. Residents of the northwest Syrian town of Akhme and rebels fighting the Syrian government earlier reported several civilian casualties in the 2-hour operation, saying the raid was believed to have targeted a suspected Al-Qaeda-affiliated jihadist. U.S. Special Operations Forces, under the control of U.S. Central Command, conducted a counter-terrorism mission this evening in northwest Syria. The mission was successful, Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said in a statement. For years, the U.S. military has launched mostly drones to kill top Al-Qaeda operatives in northern Syria, where the militant group became active during Syria's over-decade-long civil war. U.S.-led coalition operations against remnants of Islamic State sleeper cells are more frequent in northeast Syria, held by Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. And that's all on the news update. We're going to a very quick time out, and when we return, we'll bring you the newspaper review. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying tuned. You're still on to iBrand Daybreak. Now it's time to bring you up to speed with the major headlines making the dailies on today's newspapers. I will start definitely with the Nation newspaper, where the headline here reads, "Take battle to bandits and others, Senate tells service chiefs." And you have the rider there, "Kidnapped suspects shot dead after shootout with security operatives on Benin Auchi Road." You also have "Nobody can zone PDP presidential ticket," says Lamido. And the writer there is from Tambuwal, who says we need a competent leader. At the earpiece of the paper, you have Oshun APC or Aregbeshola Group loses out in court. That story is on page 5. And you have FEC approves $328.87 million for rail consultancy services. That story is on page 6. And on page 7, you have Zenith, Fidelity, Wema Banks lead 23.2 billion naira 100 for 100 loans. And you also have at the stand first, Kano government files 5-count charge against Anifa killer suspect. And that's all you have when it comes to the Nation newspaper.
Moving now to this day paper, the banner headline reads, "Our 2023 presidential ticket open to all," says PDP. We have two riders to this story, the first being, insist no zone will be denied opportunity to contest. The second, Northern Group re-echoes party's position. And moving away from that story, Ladol Samsung reached settlement. Truce may unlock $300 billion investment. And we have to write us to this story. NEPSA, NPA, stakeholders hail truce. Away from that, NESG, fuel subsidy payments rose 477% to 3.64 trillion naira in 7 years. That's on page 6. We have, this other story, Buhari foresees end to insurgency. Well, that's an interesting one. You may want to get a copy of this day paper to read more on that. And that's all we have. Save this particular one. FEC okays $329 million for railway consultancy supervision services nationwide. And we have a rider to that story. Approves 115 billion naira to dualize Katsina Road. That's all on this day paper this morning.
Moving on now to the Punch newspaper, the headline here reads, Lai Aregbesola Yari Kiyamo lose out. APC inaugurates state chairman. And you have 3 writers to the story. The first being, I have been invited for inauguration. I'm in Abuja, Abdulrazak led group chair. You also have Abiodun Omar Gege factions set for inauguration. Amosun, other groups in limbo. And finally, talking about the riders for that story, you have inauguration unfortunate, factions lament, one APC against contempt of court. At the earpiece of the paper, you have federal government requests $600 million Wema Bank loan to fight erosion. World Bank loan, I beg your pardon, to fight erosion, others in northern states, and that's on page 21. You have FEC approves $328.8 million railway consultancy services, 115.4 billion naira Katsina Road dualization, that's on page 22. You also have federal government, states, and local governments suffered 267 billion naira shortfall in 2021 FAC allocations, also on page 21. Senate laments killings, abductions, demand fighter jets deployment. That's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And below you have Ogun students protesting abductions, stone police vans, barricade highway. And you also have Lagos court strikes out 226 million naira railway vandalism case over jurisdiction. And you also have Kwara local government caretaker chairman, I beg your pardon, arraigned for 5 million naira inherited debt. 9 killed in Ogun tanker explosion, other road crashes that you can find on page 9. And then to the bottom part now you have Ogun, Oyo to establish security team, plan CCTV on highways, that's on page 8. Ex-convicts, others arrested for armed robbery, rape, murder in Ekiti. You have that story on page 4. And finally, on the Punch newspaper, you have Oros Sonye on retirement when minor embezzled 2.7 billion naira pension fund. That's coming from EFCC on page 8.
And checking the Guardian paper this morning, we start with a banner headline which reads, Insecurity, 10,366 killed in 2021. Buhari pledges change in Northeast. We have writers to this story, about 6 of them. Killings in Nigeria hit 2,085 in fourth quarter 2021. That's according to SBM report. Send fighter jets to flush out terrorists from hideouts. Senate urges federal government. Our security forces overstretched. Need support, says Abdul Salami. Secure North, that's a hashtag. Media owners lament insecurity. Begins sensitization in 19 states. Another rider, Nigeria in state of war. Afenifere challenges federal government, NAS, governors over rising terrorism. And we have Makinde Abiodun meeting over insecurity to install CCTV on highways. Well, moving away from that very sad one, court finds Malami for truncating trial of Kanu's co-defendants. Another story, more doubts hit APC convention date as Women Coalition demand postponement. You'll find that story on page 3. Aviation workers threaten strike over welfare. Others, that's on page 4. Federal government secures $600 million World Bank facility to rebuild North. And checking more stories from this paper. Do not be deterred by Udom's aspirant. PDP chief tells other Guba contenders. That's on page 7. And the final story on the Guardian paper this morning reads, End SARS protest. Duke Imoke, Ndoma Egba, others lost over 45 billion naira property in Cross River. That's on page 2.
On to the final paper we'll be reviewing today. That's Business Day. The headline here reads, Africa needs industrialization-led growth to match Asia's success. And you can find that story on page 29. You also have debt burden will interrupt Africa's growth trajectory. Robertson is speaking. That story is on page 30 of Business Day. Why Nigerian farmers fail in loan repayments, and that's coming from the EIU. That's also on page 30. Local investors see opportunities in Nigerian healthcare system, also on page 30. You have how tech firms are growing healthcare businesses, hospital-focused companies sustain growth. That's on page 29. And on page 2, you have why single-digit inflation may elude Nigeria in next 5 years. And finally, on Business Day, you have Middle East smart mobility investments at a lesson for Africa. That's also on page 2. Pep, which of these headlines really struck you? Because I think you know, the heat is now here talking about the 2023 elections. You have factions being, you know, lamenting about the APC internal crisis. PDP meanwhile is saying, let's
No
open up the,
zoning,
you know, no
let's open
zoning,
it
let's
up.
open it up.
Don't you think the no zoning, let's open it up thing is because some people are afraid that if this is zoned, the South may likely get it?
Well, ideally, it depends on what, you know, the constitution of the PDP regards zoning, you know, says. But when you look at it, the last presidential candidate was from the North, talking about the PDP. So this time around, you also have the national chairman coming from the North. So there's the tendency that if they are to zone, it will fall down to the South.
And I think some big wigs are trying to avoid that. Look at Sule Lamido speaking and saying all of those things. I think all of this is in a bid to ensure that, okay, to some extent, you also have a chance, or you have something contrary.
Well, it's more of, you know, politics is reading the room. It's about who comes from the South. That will be a strong candidate to contest against the rival party. And when you look at, you know, the PDP, there have been talks of certain governors over time. One of them is in his first term and will probably want to contest for a second term. Talking about, you know, Makinde of Oyo State. Wike is, you know, Wike. No, I'm saying that's what we get to read. You know. Now you have Wike who is finishing up his second term. That's probably someone who, you know, can stand, you know, the ground when it comes to contesting. But when you look at the South, really, the options for PDP is a bit minimal because it's probably restricted to Peter Obi, Wike. Who else is within the PDP from the South that has that clout and followership to be able to at least, you know, command some, you know,
some votes, some respect,
and all of that. You look at it really. I mean, if it was during the days where you probably had Ojil Zakalu in the PDP, you probably want to fancy his chances as well. So it's quite understandable that certain political figures from the North feel, let's leave it open. And if it is open, you most likely get the impression that the North will also win. Someone like Tambuwal is a strong force within the PDP caucus.
And what about Atiku? What's happening?
Well, the consultations are ongoing.
What's this consultation?
But what I think is this. I think both parties are probably just reading the room, not just internally, but also externally. Yes. You're trying to watch. It's more a chess game.
Yes,
you're trying to monitor the moves of the opposing parties and all. Unfortunately for both parties, they all have their issues, internal crisis and all. And that's probably not the best for, you know, a democratic process.
Well, if you ask me, I think PDP is doing better when it comes to managing its internal crisis. I mean, it hasn't gone south. It's not that bad.
Let's see how it goes. I know for APC, they really have a lot to do on their hands because on the federal level, there's crisis, you know, and on the state level, several states have parallel congresses and chairmen and all of that. So, chairman, I beg your pardon. So, you know, you can always look at both parties and feel like they need to do more in terms of uniting dissenting voices so that they can have a common front to prosecute the 2023 elections. Regardless of what it is, we should also understand that we're not limited to just these two parties, although they are the dominant parties.
Definitely. And if we were to have a third force, what party do you think can stand that chance?
Well, any party really. The issue with third force is it's not necessarily about an existing party. It could be a merger. We saw APC do that, you know, and they seized power within barely a year of the merge. So the merger, I beg your pardon. It depends on the parties that are really ready to come and form a coalition to get the job done. Really.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, we'll go on a very quick time out now. When we return, we'll bring you the conversation for today. My colleague already told you it's a social conversation. It's something you want to hear, something you want to talk about, and it's really trending. So stick around. We'll talk about that after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The greatest legacy one can leave is not necessarily wealth acquired, but the quality of life one is able to give one's children. On Monday, Ogun State Police Command paraded 4 teenagers suspected to have killed Sofiat, a girlfriend to one of them, for ritual purposes. Police Public Relations Officer of the state, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Abimbola Oyeyemi, attributed the brutal act to bad parenting, failure of responsibilities by religious bodies, among others. Never before has the quest to get riches by all means been so magnified among Nigerian youths than as it is now. From internet fraud to ritual killings and more. Today we'll be looking at the prevalence of rituals, internet fraud, the role of parents and government. And joining us for this conversation is Mr. Henry Uduje. Good to have you. Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Definitely. Now,
morning.
we're looking at all of... You're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, looking at all of these things, the ritual killings and the Yahoo and all of that, how did we even get here, seeing the recent numbers of people that are being killed for ritual purposes?
The parents are involved in this issue, and most of the problem we have is about this, what's going on in this country now. Everybody wants to make it. In the past, it wasn't so. The region leaders are there too. They are not even contributing well, because some of these are region leaders now are becoming another thing, is quest of money. Everybody wants money, wants money. Nobody take proper care about the children that they have both in the church and the mosque and even the house. So it's just few parents does that. So that's why you see all these kind of things happening here and there. Otherwise, you see children now at the age of 20, they are very eager to make money, and they can even go after men, because those who know, they know that they can make money so that they can get money from them. And everybody wants to ensure it gets into that kind of situation. And that is why, as parents, we must do our work. And doing our work very well, we must ensure that from the beginning, the upbringing of your child, from the time it comes out and it gets to know 1 or 2 things, you start teaching the child what to do. Draw the child closer to you. The child will tell you every situation that is going around the child, even in the school. Come back, you should be able to let you know what is going on. So you should be able to stand as a parent to be able to pursue whatever the child tells you, so that you correct the anomalies that's going on. Or else, if you allow your child to get out there and get entangled with all these people out there, they will be involved in this kind of situation. And before you know, they'll be on control. You can't control them. And that's why some parents today die before their time. They didn't just die because of when you just think, I've tried everything I could do, I've done this, I've done that, what happened? So before you know it, that's just the end. In government aspect is that government are not actually helping the country very well. And that is why you see that some parents don't have it. But personally, I look at things this way. As a parent, I don't need to be involve government into any situation concerning my child. All I need to do is that to teach my child the way I am. Who am I? You see, that money I'm earning, my child should be able to understand that this is what my father is earning. You understand? And the child should also know that, look, and this is the way I'm bringing the child up, because I should bring the child in a way that I should be able, in the line that I will be able to be happy with, and the child will be happy with. Not that at the end of the day, I'll start hearing story about my child. I want to stand a situation whereby if you tell me about my son or my daughter, this or that happened, I should tell you that no, that is not my son, because I know my son very well. He will not be able to do that, regardless of what is happening thereafter and the world there. But I should be able to stand and say that this is what my son is.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. You just touched on parenting
Yes.
as being the backbone of moral upbringing, so
Yeah.
to speak,
Yes.
and you've kind of desecrated, pushed back the role of the government. There's the place of train up a child the way he should go. When he grows up, he won't depart from it,
Sure, that's
which is
Bible.
where good parenting comes in, especially if you're a Christian and you go through that route.
Correct.
There's also the place of you train up a child, and the child also has to retrain himself or herself in terms of personal development.
Sure.
We've had instances where parents do, in quotes, all the right things, training the child the way he should go in terms of morals, religious upbringing, and all of that. Yet, the child, probably as a result of, bad company, bad friends in school, or whatever, turns out the other way. In such instances, are you still going to lay the blame on the parent, or there's also the place of the individual taking up responsibilities? And I understand quite well that these children may be young, but we've also had young children, even at 16, 18, take responsibilities for themselves.
Why do we have the Bible?
Not everyone reads the Bible.
Why do we have the Quran?
Not everyone reads the Quran.
Yeah, there are some people who are 80 that don't even have a religion, but they still stick to what they know. Because you see them, we see have people who have no religion, but you see them, what they do, sometimes you begin to, like, it's even far better than what these people that have religions. Yes. So that's just it. So we have Bible, and God has already put everything there for us. And where is the place of prayers? So have you prayed for your children? Have you followed them up with prayers? What have you done? Have you fasted for them? Have you cooked them into that situation for them to know that this is? Have you read the Bible together to understand what is going on? Have you take them to the church to show them the mosque, to show them this is what the legacy should be? So you see, when you put all this together in the life of your children, I don't think, and you are closer to them 24/7. As they are far from you, this is why we have phone. You are calling them, and you are visiting them, and you are ensuring that they don't even do the other way around. When you see somebody around them that they are not okay, you'll be able to, like, caution, well, who is this person?
But you cannot always be with your children.
That's
there
what I'm
are
saying.
children who are well brought up, but when they get to school, they change.
Even
and they
pastors'
have
children.
Exactly.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, can we still blame the parents for this set of children? And I think in addressing this issue, we also want to look at what are the causes of this? Why do we have children turning back from whatever training it is they got from their parents?
Because the world is now, we have so many things involved in the world right now. The Yahoo is involved now. Is everybody want to make money? Everyone to see that, yes, this money, I have a small house. No, I need to get a big house. I need to have a very big car. I see somebody riding a car, I say, oh no, this car, no, I need to have my own. You just begin to aspire towards those things that are not it. What I mean by those things are not it, because you are not even graduated from school yet. You have not done the needful, and you are aspiring to ensure that you get this. How do you get it? You first of all do the first thing first. When you do the first thing, you study, you are out of school, you get something doing, then you begin to aspire to get all these things done. And if you say that you want to put yourself in line that because others are doing Yahoo, others are doing this, so you should separate your children from all these kind of, I know they should use their internet very well, no doubt about it. I know they should also ensure that they look at TV and see what people are doing or whatever, but you also, there's a legacy you have to create in your home that will give your children comfortability, that they'll have the strong will to assuage any situation that comes their way, that you can stand by it. It may not be all the children, of course, I know, but there are some that can stand and say, no, this is it, and this is what I know, and I must follow it. My father have taught me this way. Until today, I still remember what my father taught me. I still think about it. I say, yes, my father has done well, even though today is no more. But I thank him because of what he has done. God used him to do that. But the problem we have now, government also is involved in this situation. Most of these people you see in the government, they're also doing all these things, pushing their children into this and making sure that their children, you can see them, many children bully children out there. You go to school, you look at that guy, Romole, the other time, what happened to him? These are the problems we are facing because they bully. But the issue is that the parents should listen to their children. How many parents listen to their children when they talk to them? Some will just do like, I better just leave it, this kind of a thing is not this. But at the end of the day, it will turn out to be something bad. So you don't need to leave your children to, like, if they tell you something, that's why you need to draw them as a friend.
Okay,
yes.
I see you're saying a lot about parents who are forthright and who want their children to go the right way. What about situations where we have parents initiating their children? Parents telling their children that what they want is a house, what they want is this. Parents who support and even push their children into these things. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, there are a lot of parents who are after such things, but not all parents. But for those ones that are doing those things, government should be able to come in. Because sometimes I feel, to my understanding, that governments are not doing well to a lot of people. The country, because if everything is working out well, I don't think all these things will just come to be, because things have already break along the line. So many things have gone down, so that's why you see all these things happening this way. Parents are initiating them, and even going as far as taking them to juju, where they will go and fortify them very well to ensure that they will not be caught in all these things. And when they are caught, if they are caught truly, and they get to the police station or wherever, and when they get there, if the police who is investigating the matter should understand, it should put the parents into the thing, because that's the problem. We have a problem. Parents are not, or some parents are not doing well, but rather encouraging their children to do wrong thing. And the same way, some parents are also encouraging their children for prostitution. I need the money. You don't even care where the money is coming from. You don't want to know. As long as he brings the money to the house and they solve the problem, that's it. Tomorrow, where far now, the girl is going. And tomorrow she gets, that's why you see most of them get killed. Rituals and all these things, because by the time those guys now see the way taking advantage of them, they can put 2 million into their account, they kill them, unknown to them that they have bought their life with that money. So there are a lot of problems that are involved in all this. The government too are not doing well. That's the problem. I should blame the government in their own part, but I should also stand as a father I am, to ensure that my children, despite the situation of the country, that my children really, really do the little they can do.
You know, when you say... All right, go ahead.
Let's take you know, the issue of the government's role now in all of these.
Okay.
You've talked about the government not doing well. You mentioned standard of living at some point.
Yeah.
That because things are now bad,
They're bad.
and people are struggling to live, you know, a relatively comfortable life. That's why all of these are happening. Will you suggest that the government should have more stringent rules to people who are involved in ritual killings, kidnappings, and all of that? You probably don't want death sentence in terms of capital punishment, but should there be more stringent rules just to curb this menace in its tracks right now, because it's spiraling out of control at a very rapid rate?
Yes. Government should bring about, in fact, that is what they should do, because for me, I would just advise that government, if at all, when you get people who are into this kind of a thing, just take them to the bar to remain there for like 10 years or 15.
Wait, sorry to cut you short. So for someone who is involved in ritual killing, I mean, someone who has taken a life.
No. Someone who, the law there is there.
Life for life.
The law is there. Sometimes somebody dies and the kill depends on how the person died.
Definitely.
It can be free sometimes. Sometimes it may not be free. It depends on how the situation of the law will take its course when it gets there. But what we are saying now, if you happen to get somebody who kills somebody through ritual or anything, I think you should go for life. Just leave him there. Let him be there. He'll get old and die from there. If you feel that you can hang him, good. During the days of Ijabo and or during the times of, that's 80s and thereabout, if you see all these kind of things, killing or stealing or robbing or whatever, what they do is just take you and firing squad. That's the end of the matter. People are scared. People talk to their friends, they will do this. Look at how they show them on the TV. This is what happened. So people start withdrawing. But what is happening today? The people who owns the money today are the ones who can come to government and say, no, don't kill this person. Don't do this to this person. Do this to this person, because the money is talking. So a parent who doesn't have the money cannot even fight for his own right at all in this country. That's the truth. If you don't have the money, you can't fight for anything. But you have the money, no matter what happened, you kill somebody today, you can be free. That's how the country is today. You can be free. But once the money is not there, I tell you, hey, you go for it. That's why today, if you go to the prison today, you see a lot of people who have not done anything, but they are in the prison there. They can use somebody to cover up with the police. They can use somebody to cover up and say, okay, this is the person. They just cover up there, and that's the end. The original culprit is already just laughing, rejoicing, celebrating. But the innocent person is done.
Okay, from all the conversation we've been having today, we've talked about parents, we've talked about the role of government. And then I think in passing, we talked about religious leaders. But what role do you think religion has to play in addressing this issue?
For me, religious leaders have a very big role to play. Very, very big role to play. It's just unfortunate that the followers are not really doing the exact what they should do. But I think they should keep talking and preaching and a step ahead again, so that all these things, I think they should not be talking about prosperity all the time. They should just let prosperity to live, just put it aside for now. Let's talk about what is happening in the world and killings and these rituals, to make the parents and the children to understand that, look, this thing should not. So when they are coming every day to the church and maybe on Sundays and all the time, I think this thing should be able to sink into them. And before you know it, most of them will be free. I know it's not going to be all of them, but at least out of 100, you should be able to get 80 free from all this kind of problem.
You know, we've seen a lot of videos. There's this one about, I think they were Yahoo boys in a church, spraying money, and then the elders in the church were celebrating, even praying for them.
That is why I tell you, the pastors are different. Some are after money. I know in church today, if you go there with your money, say if you put your own money there, or you put anything there, clam. If you put anything there, whatever will happen to you will happen to you. You dare don't put that money there. He will, in fact, he said he doesn't want them. So if you preach that same way, I don't want it. When you see somebody doing all those kind of things, you begin to ask, how did this money come? What happened? You inquire. You don't allow such people to come into your church because it's going to cause more chaos. So the religious leaders have a lot to play. Not accepting everything you see. But sometimes you caution that thing. You can even go after, who is this person? Why is he doing this? Who is in the government? What is he doing? You ask questions. But somebody just come from the blues from nowhere. It's just like you are just there, just spreading, bringing dollars and be spreading. How did you get it? Where did you go to? 2 years ago, who are you? Where did you finish from? How come you had all this? So you should be able to explain. Okay. So the EFCC is there, but they are not doing their job. So people spreading this money, even when they are doing all this wedding and all these things, you are there, see people spreading in dollars. You don't even ask, why is this people? You know, if you tell me about a Bola Tinubu now, for instance, I bring that money and start, I will say, well, because he has it. But somebody who doesn't have it, you know that he doesn't have it there. That's spraying that kind of money. You ask questions. You should ask questions. So religion leaders are also part of this situation we are facing today. They are not standing to their ground. Some of them they need that money to build up their churches. They need the money to do one thing or the other. So they should stop all these things and they should do the right thing. And that's why some people drift from the church because they don't want to. Because when you get there, they will tell you, okay, they need money for this, they need money for that. And for instance, I've been paid 2,000 naira. Let me just give an instance. 2,000 naira. I need to feed my children. I need to make sure that the welfare, everything, the home is okay. I need to think about my rent. But if I get to church, they say they need 2,000 naira, and I remove it and give. So how do I make it? And I still come back to office and start stealing. So what do I do? So you have to just be careful. You just cut your size. Do the right thing. So what you can't do, you can't do. Don't allow people to force you. That's the truth. If you are forced into something, at the end of the day, you mess things up to yourself, not to anybody, but to yourself.
So you've just called for moderation and people being, contented with what they have.
Yes, be contented with what you have.
Religious leaders as well, not demanding from their members, too much.
Yes, at religious, this kind of demand. Sometimes they will tell you, the ones that have 100,000, 1 million, you start, that kind of a thing doesn't, if you have it silently, you don't do it.
You're not forcing them.
But by the time you don't do it, there are people in the church who sees you that you can do it, and then you start side talk and all this things start happening. He has the money. A lot of things happen, So we should not, shy away from all this kind of a thing. There's a lot of problem.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Henry. We had a great time listening to you this morning. And of course, it's still iBrand Day break. We're going to have a very quick time out, and when we return, it will be time for sports. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying tuned. You're still watching iBrand Daybreak. Now it's time for sports updates. And then we'll start with the African Cup of Nations, where the Senegalese, the Teranga Lions as they are known, are now into the finals of the African Cup of Nations, the 33rd edition. And this time around, they're playing for $5 million. The Senegalese booked their place in the finals, courtesy of a 3-1 win over Burkina Faso, where you had former Everton man Idrissa Gueye. You also had Diallo and Sadio Mane get the goals for Senegal. For Sadio Mane, it was a historic goal because it was his 29th for Senegal and his joint top scorer of the Senegalese alongside Henry Camara. So one more goal for Sadio Mane, possibly in the final, and he will become the all-time top scorer for Senegal. While for Burkina Faso, they've had a good run, but it ends here. Now for Senegal, their opponents will all be known today as Cameroon takes on Egypt in the second semi-final of the African Cup of Nations, which will take place today. And for Egypt, they'll be looking forward to Mohamed Salah making things happen for them. And you have Vincent Aboubakar, the captain of the Cameroonian side, the leading goal scorer of the competition with 6 goals. He will be the ones leading the line, and it will be followed closely by Ekambi, who also have 5 goals for Cameroon. So Cameroon against Egypt, it promises to be an exciting affair, and whoever is able to win this one will face Senegal in the final. For Senegal, it is their second successive African Cup of Nations final. Remember, they lost the last edition to Algeria by a lone goal. So the Senegalese are the first team since 2010 to make successive AFCON finals. Let's see if they would make it at the third time of asking, because they've lost their 2 finals, and this is the third time they will be making the final. Maybe they would have a third bite at the cherry. Okay, that's it on sports updates. Pep, I know you stopped watching after Nigeria lost and all, but
I tried. My husband made me watch yesterday. I saw Senegal and Burkina Faso, and then the third goal was
Sadio Mane.
Even before the score, my husband was like, "This is a goal. This is a goal." And then it happened. I was even like, "It's offside." My husband said, "No, it's not offside. It's not off." Because I was like, "How did this happen? What were they looking at?"
Well, you have to understand that.
I mean, you could tell from afar that this. I mean, my husband was just like, "This is a goal."
It was a fluid movement from Senegal. You have to give it to them, and you should also understand that in instances like that with Sadio Mane's pace and strength, it was a no-brainer. It was just going to be one, result, and that was the ball being at the back of the net. At the end of the day, it was a well-deserved win for Senegal.
You can say that.
And for Sadio Mane, that was a historic goal because he's now the joint top scorer for Senegal in the history of Senegalese football. One more strike, and then he eclipses Eric Camara's record, 29 goals. And it just shows you how, impressive and indispensable, so to speak, he is for the Teranga Lions at this point in time. Let's see. I'm excited. I want to see who goes through. Cameroon, Egypt.
You want to predict?
No, it's too close to call. It's too close to call.
All right, very quickly, we'll move on to social media buzz. And this is another interesting one, really. What kind of parents will this loving man or woman be to my children? Is a very important question to ask before you marry someone. And that's coming from Timmy Dakota. We have reactions to this. The first being from Gloria19 saying, "Timmy, thank you. I watch Where because I can't give my kids the kind of father I have." Now that's deep.
Yeah, that's definitely deep. Again, it stems from, childhood experiences. Some could be traumatic, and they have ripple effects on how people make choices, either for life partners or how they even delve into relationships in terms of friendships, among other things. So there's always that, psychological, experience and effect that one's childhood have on one. And let's just hope that, folks get healed with time, because sometimes it could be traumatic. It could be horrific experiences, and it could take time to heal.
I had a friend before, eventually, of course, God helped her, but then she never valued marriage because of the home she came from. She just felt marriage was, it was just something that just didn't favor the women folk. But eventually, she was lucky to stay with a particular family, and that changed her orientation. And then she was like, "Oh, so a family can be this sweet. I mean, a home can be this interesting and welcoming and warm and all of that." That's what changed her orientation. If she didn't have that experience, I doubt if she would have.
Experiential realities differ, and for experiential realities, what would change over time is another experience.
Exactly.
So for someone who is coming from, a really terrible background, probably separated parents or an orphan who has had it rough on the streets and all, when you have, folks who are accommodating and showing warmth and affection, it begins to change gradually. It takes time, but it changes over time. And that's why you have several, orphanage homes or what have you, just trying to ensure that they get kids that are off the streets and give them the sort of life that they deserve.
All right, and finally, there's this one that says, unfortunately, they ask how much does he have? Story for another day. Okay, so in wrapping up
Really?
the show...
Story for another day?
In wrapping
Did
up
you
the
ask
show...
that question?
Why would I? But I was interested in what he was making. I mean, that was important.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily...
No.
I was interested in it. I needed to know what I was getting
good.
into. I mean,
It's important, yeah. But there's a
Anyway.
correlation between what is he making and how much, and what does he have, or what was that question again? How much?
All right, in wrapping up the show, here is a quote by an anonymous person, and it reads, "Good things come to people who wait, but better things come to those who go out and get them." Are you waiting, or are you going out to get that which you desire?
It's all about putting in the work, and making sure that you go out there and pursue your dreams. And I think that's what life is about. The fact that you dream it, you can also achieve it. So pursue it. And life is about risk. Sometimes you make mistakes, you learn from it, you make it, you lose. But all in all, you won't regret. The regret lies in you just waiting. But when you go for it, you learn lessons even if you don't make it.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Samson.
Thank you very much.
You make a good motivational speaker. Have you thought about that?
No, but I mean, you can pay me. Public speaking,
All right, thanks for watching. I am Perpetua Fason Repeater.
And I'm Samson Olede. Thank you so much for joining us. To the production crew who made this happen, Mr. Henry Ujude, who was our guest, thank you so much. And to you, our viewers out there, you guys are the real MVP. Till iBrandTV comes your way tomorrow, do have a wonderful day.